Hollywood's golden age stars seemed invincible. On screen, they faced down villains, survived wars, and overcame impossible odds. Off-screen, they were admired by millions, appearing immortal in the public eye. But behind the glamour and spotlights lurked a brutal truth: stars bled the same red blood as anyone else, and the operating table could claim even the most celebrated among them. These 9 performers' surgical deaths reveal not just medical realities, but the pressures and illusions of Hollywood stardom, the desperate pursuit of youth and beauty, the collision of celebrity with biology, and the cruel randomness of fate. Jeff Chandler, a routine surgery turns fatal. Jeff Chandler was the epitome of Hollywood leading man charisma. Standing 6 feet 4 inches with striking silver hair and a resonant voice, he exuded strength in every role, from westerns to war dramas. Universal Pictures considered him one of their most bankable stars, a figure destined for decades of cinematic dominance. But in 1961, Chandler's life was cut short, not by a villain on screen, but by a routine medical procedure. Chandler's death is a textbook case of preventable medical error, notes medical historian Dr. Robert Stevens. A straightforward surgery became fatal because someone cut the wrong artery. The tragedy began innocently. Chandler injured his back playing baseball, a minor mishap common to weekend athletes everywhere. When conservative treatments failed, doctors recommended surgery for a herniated disc. In 1961, such operations were routine, with predictable outcomes and manageable risks. Chandler's overall good health made complications highly unlikely. Yet disaster struck. During surgery, an artery was accidentally nicked, causing massive internal bleeding. While the team managed to control immediate blood loss, the damage had already set a cascade of complications in motion. Infection and weakened resilience overwhelmed his body. Despite access to top-tier medical care, Chandler deteriorated over several weeks and died at the age of 42. Some medical experts questioned whether surgery was even necessary, suggesting that conservative treatment might have resolved his condition without risking his life. Was Chandler rushed into surgery because he was a star with a schedule to keep? Asked Stevens. His VIP status may have inadvertently worked against him, pushing doctors toward aggressive intervention. The industry mourned. Universal Studios lost a towering talent, and audiences watched his final film, Merrill's Marauders, posthumously, Chandler's heroic on-screen persona clashing eerily with his off-screen fragility. The man who performed daring feats on screen fell victim to the very ordinary risks of a routine medical procedure. Joan Crawford, the rumor of vanity's price. Joan Crawford was Hollywood's ultimate image maker. Every aspect of her life, her roles, her demeanor, her very face, was meticulously curated. From flapper ingenue to career woman to horror queen, she maintained a rigid control over her appearance through rigorous beauty routines, strategic lighting, and sheer willpower. Persistent rumors suggest that Crawford, ever obsessed with youth and perfection, may have died during a secret cosmetic procedure. Officially, she passed away at home in 1977 from a heart attack discovered by her housekeeper. Yet biographers and insiders whispered about clandestine treatments conducted in her own home, procedures aimed at preserving her legendary beauty. Crawford's entire identity revolved around appearance, notes celebrity biographer Thomas Henderson. She would immerse her face in ice water every morning, scrub her skin with lemon juice, and undergo painful dental work to sculpt her cheekbones. That she might have sought unauthorized cosmetic intervention at 73 fits perfectly with her persona. No hospital records were ever released, fueling speculation. Did she die naturally, or was it a secretive procedure gone wrong? The truth remains elusive, but the rumor resonates because it aligns with our cultural understanding of Crawford, a woman who claimed, "I never go outside unless I look like Joan Crawford, the movie star." Her case underscores the unique pressures facing aging female stars during Hollywood's golden age. While men could embrace wrinkles and gray hair as signs of gravitas, women were often considered finished at the first hint of physical decline. For Crawford, who built her career entirely on a carefully managed public image, the stakes were existential: aging visibly wasn't vanity, it was professional jeopardy. Whether Crawford died naturally or while pursuing an impossible standard of beauty, the ambiguity itself feels fitting. Her life was a constant performance, a balancing act between reality and the illusion she projected to millions. Even in death, her story reflects Hollywood's relentless demand for perfection, and the ultimate price it can exact. Jane Russell, the delayed complication. Jane Russell was Hollywood's original bombshell. With her voluptuous figure and striking screen presence, she became an icon of the 1940s and 50s. From her controversial debut in The Outlaw to her partnership with Marilyn Monroe in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, her physical attributes were central to her star power. Unlike many Golden Age stars whose lives ended in youthful tragedy, Russell lived to 89, navigating both the heights of fame and the quieter realities of a long life after Hollywood's spotlight faded. Her death in 2011, following surgical complications, illustrates the medical risks inherent in advanced age rather than sensational misadventure. Russell's final surgery was medically necessary, explains Dr. Robert Stevens. She underwent lung surgery to address genuine health concerns. At 89, complications during recovery are unfortunately common, even when procedures are performed correctly. Although the operation itself was technically successful, her body's reduced capacity for healing and her underlying respiratory issues made recovery difficult. Respiratory failure and difficulty overcoming anesthesia, risks familiar to elderly patients, ultimately led to her passing. Barbara Payton, the desperate reconstruction. Barbara Payton's Hollywood story is one of meteoric rise and tragic fall. Once a promising starlet, she captivated audiences with her beauty and screen presence. But her rapid ascent was followed by a series of personal and professional catastrophes, transforming her from a rising talent into a tabloid fixture and ultimately, a cautionary tale about Hollywood's ruthless nature. Payton died in 1967 at the age of 39. Her official cause of death was heart and liver failure, reflecting years of substance abuse following her career's collapse. Yet accounts from friends suggest a more dramatic final chapter. She may have collapsed during reconstructive surgery. This procedure, aimed at restoring the beauty that had briefly made her valuable to the industry, became the fatal endpoint of a life marked by exploitation and desperation. Collins explains, Payton's body had endured years of abuse, alcohol, drugs, and the physical toll of a career discarded by Hollywood. During her final surgery, her compromised cardiovascular system couldn't withstand the stress of anesthesia and surgical intervention. Once celebrated for her screen presence opposite James Cagney and others, Payton's career derailed after personal scandals, including a high-profile love triangle and altercation with fellow actors. By the mid-1950s, she was effectively blacklisted from Hollywood, plunging into bankruptcy, arrests, and homelessness. The reconstructive surgery represented a final, desperate attempt to reclaim the physical asset that the industry had once commodified and then discarded. Her death during this procedure is both literal and symbolic. Hollywood's relentless demand for beauty claimed its ultimate price. Payton's story exposes the particular vulnerability of women in the golden age of cinema, where career longevity hinged almost entirely on appearance, and personal missteps could result in permanent exile. In the end, the industry that had once profited from her looks, and abandoned her when she failed to conform, oversaw the tragic final chapter of her life. The scalpel, in a cruel twist of fate, finished the job Hollywood had begun. Ramon Novarro, the brutal aftermath. Ramon Novarro, silent film royalty, was Hollywood's quintessential Latin lover. His striking looks and magnetic screen presence made him one of MGM's most valuable assets during the 1920s. Films like Ben-Hur, 1925, cemented his international fame, and audiences adored the romantic, heroic characters he portrayed. But in a cruel twist of fate, the real Novarro faced a danger far removed from the silver screen. Novarro died in 1968 at the age of 69. Unlike other Hollywood surgical deaths, his involved emergency medical intervention following a brutal home invasion. On October 30, 1968, Novarro invited two young men, Paul and Tom Ferguson, to his Hollywood Hills home. Believing he kept large sums of cash there, they attacked him with terrifying violence, inflicting severe head trauma and other catastrophic injuries. Medical teams performed emergency surgery to address his injuries, including internal bleeding, but the combination of the severity of his wounds, his age, and the delay in treatment made survival impossible. As crime historian James Morrison notes, the surgical team did everything within their power, but Novarro's injuries were simply too overwhelming. These procedures failed not from error, but from the extraordinary circumstances they faced. Novarro's death highlights the vulnerability of gay performers during Hollywood's golden age. Forced to maintain a public fiction of heterosexuality to protect their careers, many lived isolated lives that exposed them to danger. In Novarro's final hours, the contrast between the heroic, untouchable characters he portrayed on screen and his actual fragility was stark. He didn't die in the comfort of his bed, nor in the midst of glamorous fame. He died fighting to be put back together, both physically and metaphorically, as the world he had once conquered offered no protection. Novarro's story serves as a sobering reminder that Hollywood's illusions of invincibility could not shield its stars from real-world peril. Marie McDonald, the beauty's burden. Marie McDonald was Hollywood's body, a star whose fame rested almost entirely on her physical appearance rather than her acting range. Publicists dubbed her the body, and her career revolved around her striking figure and sensual image. But this focus on external beauty created a precarious professional and personal life, making her vulnerable in ways that tragically intersected with her death. McDonald died in 1965 at the age of 42. Official records list her death as a drug overdose, but persistent accounts link her final moments to cosmetic procedures, leaving one of Hollywood's enduring medical mysteries. Throughout her life, McDonald faced personal difficulties, including 7 marriages, substance abuse, and a possibly staged kidnapping, that compounded the pressures of a career built almost exclusively on physical appearance. As McDonald aged and opportunities dwindled, the pressure to maintain her youthful image intensified. Some accounts suggest she may have undergone risky cosmetic surgery in an attempt to reclaim the attributes that had defined her professional value. Historian Margaret Collins explains, for a star whose entire value proposition centered on physical appearance, the possibility of death during procedures aimed at maintaining that appearance carries symbolic resonance beyond factual certainty. Whether her death resulted from overdose or surgical complications, the narrative underscores a chilling reality: Hollywood's demand for perpetual perfection could be fatal. McDonald's life and death reveal the vulnerability of performers marketed for beauty rather than talent, careers with built-in expiration dates, and the extreme length some stars went to in order to meet the industry's impossible standards. Eddie Fischer, the final performance. Eddie Fischer was America's golden-voiced heartthrob, a singer whose smooth tenor captured the hearts of millions in the 1950s. Though he eventually appeared in films and on television, it was music that cemented his fame, along with high-profile marriages to actresses Debbie Reynolds and Elizabeth Taylor. Yet despite his extraordinary career, Fischer's death reflected the ordinary realities of aging. He died in 2010 at the age of 82 following complications from hip surgery. The operation was necessary to address mobility and quality of life issues, not vanity or elective procedures. Dr. Robert Stevens notes, the surgery itself was technically successful, but recovery for patients of advanced age can be unpredictable. Complications arise even under ideal circumstances. Fischer's death highlights a universal truth: no level of fame or fortune can defy biology. The man who once commanded stages and hearts succumbed to the same medical vulnerabilities that await any elderly patient. In its ordinariness, his passing forms a poignant contrast with his extraordinary early life, a reminder that the final curtain falls for all, celebrity or not.